guys, welcome to the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George, and you're listening to our Kong review and spoiler discussion. We're going to kick this off with about 5 minutes of non-spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the film, stick around, and we'll let you know when we get into spoiler territory. Connor,
Yep.
Benny,
Hello.
we saw this. Ben, what did you think? Non-spoiler.
Non-spoiler. Oh, God. But I just want to discuss all the spoilers.
There's so many.
I liked it overall. Thought it was decent. I'm not going to rave about it, Connor.
Yeah. Look, I thought this was visually stunning. I think that's the biggest thing that I got out of this film. Like, it looked awesome.
The spectacle was definitely there.
Yeah, I mean those scenes, like you see them in the trailers of the Kong standing up behind a sunset. There's a couple of those type of scenes in this movie.
The vistas.
Yeah, those are they're just really powerful.
Stunning really is the word. This movie is gorgeous.
Gorgeous, coupled with some really cool sound design, really cool scoring, made it just that the craft of the film was really well put together. The only thing that I would have liked out of this film is if it had characters. Would have been fantastic.
Usually a plus, yeah.
For me, and I know that we kind of disagree on this, I thought Samuel L. Jackson killed it. I thought that he brought probably the most depth out of anyone in the cast. Hugely disappointed by Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have much to work with, but he was very monotoned in his delivery. This was probably just a paycheck for him, man. That's how I kind of saw it.
Yeah. Didn't really give any kind of depth to the story, didn't really do much with it. Like the first half with John Goodman, I thought was really good.
Man.
But his character was interesting. He had an agenda. I thought the first half of the film, I was roped in. I was loving it. I felt snappy. It was punchy, and particularly the storm sequence when they were going through the storm. I was on the edge of my seat. I was really into that. It had a kind of like a Star Warsy, red leader report in. Everyone's on the intercoms, like that high energy feel. But then post
halfway through, roughly, it's kind of when it switched a bit, didn't it?
There was no kind of thrust to the film. There was no end goal.
I think it really came down to some kind of lazy dialogue is what I found. There were the scenes that didn't quite make sense, scenes that seemed kind of like pushed in terms of the script.
I felt the dialogue was cut and paste from other movies, and in some cases it literally was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's even references to conversations that hadn't happened. Like you would have assumed that they would have, but just really kind of strange, mentioning a character that there's no backstory on, and then they kind of give a bit of backstory later on in the film. So I thought there was just kind of a little bit disjointed in that.
Yeah, I think they knew how to get them onto the island, and then what to do with the characters and stuff when they were on the island. That's where the film just completely lost its footing and lost its way.
Well, there were so many people we were following, so many
stories
trying to be characters, yeah. And none of them really. You didn't need that many.
Well, and I think the problem was, as I said, I really liked what Samuel L. Jackson did with it. I did like John Goodman, but those are not the main characters.
But they had an agenda. I think that was nobody else really had an agenda being there.
They had some depth to them. They had some character to them.
John C. Reilly was the heart of the film. Surely. John C. Reilly and really Samuel L. Jackson, they were the two guys.
But again, they didn't drive the plot. They were there as really kind of cool side.
I would say Sam Jackson did. I would say it was pretty much his film and John C. Reilly.
No, it ended up being that way, yeah. But I would have liked to have seen Tom and Brie have a little bit more thrust to the plot.
I would have liked to see them thrusting as well. They were
gorgeous human beings.
They were sex on screen.
I thought the Kong design and the creatures themselves were really cool.
Oh,
I think
phenomenal.
that spectacle and those massive, colossal beings, they nailed those action sequences, and that is really why you want to go see a Kong film. You're not there for a character study. You're there for...
It's a B movie, yeah, and they delivered on the monster stuff, definitely. A lot less weighting than the Godzilla film, the recent one.
A lot less waiting. Even the previous Kong film.
Yeah, that 3-hour one.
3-hour kind of slug through a film, which again, there was a lot of good characters in that, but that lacked what this film had, which was that kind of crisp, really cool visuals, good action scenes. But yeah, ultimately, I did enjoy the film. It was one of those films that I'll watch because it is like I don't have to think too much during it. You know, it knows what it's delivering. It's delivering us, a monster film that has big creatures fight each other.
I'd say if you were 12, you would love this thing.
It's a dream.
Yeah, I would have.
Compared to what I was expecting, I think it was pretty much on the money. I wasn't expecting many characters, so it would have been nice to have cared a little bit more, but, I left the cinema. I wasn't offended. I wasn't upset. It is what it is. It was a fine popcorn flick.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's what we have to say about it without going too much into spoilers. To be honest, there aren't that many spoilers in the film, but there is one that I think that we really need to talk about right off the bat, and that's the post-credit scene, which I don't know whether did you stick around for that?
I hung around. Benny told me. He gave me the alert.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I kind of picked it early on. There were a lot of hints about this post-credit scene. And if you haven't seen the post-credit scene, it essentially alludes to the fact that this is going to be part of a larger monster universe with Godzilla.
Mothra, King Ghidorah, whole gang's there.
So they're really kind of obviously going to build this out in a franchise model. We're going to get to see some of these characters fight.
That was very clever of you to pick that before the end of the movie. Did it help that they announced they were making a Godzilla King Kong crossover several times over the past few months?
All right. I hadn't heard of that. Clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was some, for anyone that hadn't heard that as well, there were some subtle hints in there. When they were talking about John Goodman's ship being attacked.
Bombing the island
because they were trying to kill something, which is a direct reference to the previous Godzilla film, which is their excuse for doing the nuclear tests. If we get more films kind of like Kong in this era or in this franchise, I think it could be something cool. I think it could be entertaining.
Yeah, totally. Bring back the B monster movies.
Yeah. Like B monster movies that look really awesome. I don't know that I'd be expecting much from the character side, which is, again, what this film was lacking.
Yeah, we're getting a big push towards the sort of giant monster kaiju sort of style of film. We've got Pacific Rim coming up. We've got Godzilla vs. King Kong. We've got that one with Anne Hathaway. It looks quirky. It's a reinterpretation, but it's definitely in right now.
Is that the one where the monster's dancing?
Yeah.
I saw that. I thought that looked really cool. I'd definitely see that. Different
vibe, but I can't actually really remember the Godzilla film. I think it's because I fell asleep in it.
It's not hard to do in that one. This is a definite step up from that.
You think that's an improvement?
I mean, for the lack of characters driving it forward, it did feel snappier than Godzilla.
Absolutely, and Godzilla, I think, also had a complete dearth of character in it, but it was also trying to be a very serious film. This one had a bit more fun with it throughout the whole thing, not just in the last scene with Godzilla fighting those two things. Like Aaron Taylor Johnson in that movie was just a blank slate, and we were forced to watch him throughout the whole thing.
Pretty much everyone in that movie was a bit of a blank slate.
Yeah.
Cranston died. He was a big draw card, and he died in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, that was a big marketing fuck up.
I mean, like I wanted to see Cranston in that. Like I thought that would have been excellent. I mean, I like that a studio is not afraid to kill off a major character early on, but I think I think it has to be done correctly in order for it to have the kind of impact.
Talking about killing off characters, Toby Kebbell. He went down pretty swiftly.
Yeah. So I was looking at the credits. He was there for mocap help as well, so that must have been his major role in the film, more so than acting, because he was barely in it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, what did we think about John Goodman's death?
That was funny.
I had a bit of a chuckle, but I almost thought, like, were they going for this kind of quick, out of nowhere death? Because, I mean, they achieved it. It was just, I did not see that coming.
I thought it was good. The highlight death was the bamboo spider. Oh. Surely. That was gruesome.
Oh, yeah. Straight through the mouth.
I was surprised they snuck that shot into a presumably PG-13 film.
Yeah, that was probably... At that moment, I knew that this film wasn't fucking about. I was like, oh, they're just straight up killing people.
It got pretty gruesome in parts, didn't it?
I love right at the beginning, you could tell who was the lawyer from Jurassic Park character.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, he gets picked up and ripped apart in the sky.
Yeah. Again, a very intense scene to have in that. Just like straight up ripping apart, hearing him scream. You're just like, oh my God.
They must have scraped through on an M rating on this one, because that final scene with the Kong fighting the Queen Skull Crawler, whatever
Skull
they call
Crawler,
it.
yeah.
The big one.
He did some pretty nasty stuff to that poor Skull Crawler.
He ripped out his insides.
Yeah, that was gross. They were kind of hinting to it, but he never quite did it. From the original movie where he snaps the T-Rex's jaw right open, which Peter Jackson did. So I guess they couldn't really retread that one.
Yeah,
They almost did. He almost went for
Yeah,
it.
he was trying to.
He's going for it. He's going for it. Did you guys pick up on kind of a Zack Snyder-y kind of feel with the sort of it tapped in Apocalypse Now as Watchmen did? Lots of slow-mo, lots of montages, retro soundtrack.
Fair bit of ramping, yeah.
I really got a lot of Zack Snyder from this. With it wasn't exactly, but there were some of his sort of characteristics in there.
I do love that in the film. I love kind of these big build-ups, big scenes, sun setting behind Kong, just big music,
amazing,
getting amped up to it. Like, I love those scenes. I know that they can get a bit tired after a while, but I thought that this film kind of, at least for me, hit it on the nose with the way that they amped up these scenes. I mean, like him fighting through fire and stuff. I just loved it.
There wasn't enough Zack Snyder stuff in there to distract me and ruin it for me. But there was one scene that was directly from 300. That was Tom Hiddleston running along in a gas mask with a katana, slicing the birds, and it was doing that 300 thing with the zooming and the slow-mo and the panning.
I've got that in my notes. Laugh out loud moment. Tom Hiddleston gas mask samurai scene.
That was truly horrific to have
bizarre.
that just like splice into a movie like this. Because I think that at that point, they must have looked at the film and thought, Tom Hiddleston is doing fuck all in this film.
Just put him on the back lot and just churn this one out.
Like, because that scene, not only did it just not serve anything, because it was so weird to have that in there. But I mean, apart from that, I was trying to think of what Tom actually did, or his character actually did.
Looked amazing.
I mean, apart from just looking downright gorgeous, I don't think that his character actually...
He mumbled a lot.
He mumbled a bit. He foretold doom.
He said lines that were written down in the script.
You know what he mostly did the entire film was grab people that were about to shoot something and go, no, wait. I think he must have done that like 5 times, and that is the exclusive. If that's all it takes to be a tracker and to be able to like go into these junks and be like, no, wait, we'll let this play out. That was his character. That's all he did.
Yeah, once again, going back to the characters, nobody did anything. You guys liked what Samuel L. Jackson did with his character. I thought
Captain Ahab, I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought he was too on the nose. There was no nuance to the characters, particularly with his. He was like, I got his character from that first scene when he was in the phone booth and talking. He's a warmonger.
To the general, yeah.
And I knew immediately where this was going, and it didn't really interest me much. But I do agree with what you guys were saying with the fact that he actually had a character and there was a thrust to what he wanted to do.
Yeah. I think him and John Goodman played off each other really well. Those kind of scenes are probably the most interested I've been in the film as far as dialogue goes.
There wasn't enough of those, though.
Yeah, I mean, they had like 1 or 2 kind of scenes together. I mean, to be honest, I think you could have done without the 2 main characters.
I know they're presented as the leads, but watching the film, I really felt like the main characters were Sam Jackson and John C. Reilly's characters.
So much so that that little end credit sequence bit, with John C. Reilly, which I thought was completely bizarre.
It was weird, yeah. It was very strange.
It was terrible. Who takes Super 8 footage from reverse angles of him entering the house from? Oh my god, what were they thinking?
I thought it was a cute little button. The movie was bookended with John C. Reilly. It opened with him, closed with him. It was sweet.
I look. It was bizarre. It didn't belong
Stupid.
there. It's stupid. It didn't belong there. But I enjoyed it nonetheless.
I don't know if you really did.
I did.
Prove it.
But I mean, like it's like finding some chocolate among raisins or something. It doesn't belong there, but I'm going to enjoy it nonetheless. I was trying to think of an apt metaphor.
I love that analogy.
But Sam Jackson's doing good for about 70 years old, though, isn't he? His character must have been about 40.
Oh, he looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's the real getaway from this film is that all the characters look amazing.
Yeah, John C. Reilly. Oof.
What a man. I love seeing people of that kind of who are traditionally this kind of wacky comedic, play wacky comedic characters.
Playing a wacky comedic character, yeah, that was really fun.
In a more serious film that gives a bit of levity, like it was a good little. I don't know if I'd say departure, but it was a good addition.
I love how Sam Jackson, he's such a prolific actor and everyone knows him, but he's never the lead. He's always in and amongst an ensemble, whether it be in the Marvel films or the Star Wars films, but he is so prolific. But he knows his place. He's a team player.
Whoa! Holy crap!
What? How's that bad?
Get back in your place, Sam Jackson.
There's nothing bad. That's
well, he knows where his forte is. I think is
exactly. He's a member of the team.
Sam Jackson, if you're listening, and we know you are, we'd like to apologize for that.
He's kind of the Johnny Depp equivalent of the Pirates of the Caribbean. So like Jack Sparrow.
That's an awful analogy.
No. I mean, like, all right, look, Jack Sparrow is great as a side character. He's able to be kind of quirky and aloof, and he doesn't have to drive the plot, so we can kind of focus on him, and his character and stuff.
Except when it comes to episode 4.
Well, as soon as he's the lead, then it turns to dog shit, because then he has to drive the plot. He has to do that mundane stuff that Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom used to take care of in the first films.
What are you talking about?
It's a bit of a tangent, but I'm talking about like Samuel Jackson. We love
Sam Jackson is Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. It's what I'm building up to. I think you'd make a great Jack Sparrow in the reboots that are inevitably going to come. No, I think that he's able to like pull off these really cool characters that everyone really loves because he's not driving the plot. I think that's where his strength lies.
I think he just plays Sam Jackson in every movie. I mean, he tried to drop a motherfucker. Didn't quite get there. He said his line from Jurassic Park, though, which made me very, very happy. I cheered in the cinema at that point.
He said a couple lines that I thought were like little kind of references to other roles that he's done, which, I mean, they all kind of blend into one, admittedly, but I liked it.
Just going back to King Kong or whatever the hell this movie's called.
Kong Skull Island.
As a final kind of wrap up from me, I thought the front end was really great and had a lot of snappiness and punch. But after they got to the island and had that initial sequence with Kong, it kind of all fell apart, and the pacing and editing in the second half seemed extremely loose and not as strong as the front half. And I just really didn't care towards the end. And I wasn't waiting and begging for it to end, but, it just kind of, it's, another one of those kind of films. So from me, decent blockbuster film. Go check it out if you want to see good spectacle and large furry creatures fighting each other. But if you're expecting the best thing ever, go home.
Yeah, look, I agree. Very, as I said before, visually stunning film. At no point was I not entertained. But certainly left something to be desired as far as kind of like character development and dialogue and stuff. I agree. Go see it if you want to be entertained. If you want to see something that's kind of a big spectacle and looks good, just don't go for Oscar type film.
Yeah, it looks like we're all on the same page with this one. Gorgeous movie, amazing cinematography, cool special effects, awesome big fights in there. Not much else. It's definitely the least racist King Kong film, which is a step up. That's good. It started out pretty strong. I was pretty happy with it at the beginning. It definitely gets to a point in the movie where you're like, this does not need to be 2 hours long. If you like monster movies, go see it. If you're not too interested, watch the trailer because that's better.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. So yeah, that's it for this week. We will be uploading our Nintendo Switch and Zelda review later on in the week. We've also got our top 10 news from last week already uploaded. Go check it out. We're on SoundCloud. We're on Another Thing. All the platforms. Hopefully more as we go forward. And
like, comment, subscribe.
Subscribe. Come over. Join us. Eat with us. Hunt animals and
watch George fumble through an ending.
Happy days.
Bye, guys.
Catch it.